In this video I'm going to have a look at a couple of pairs of Electricians pliers. I can never find mine. I've got about 3 pairs of them, but they're always scattered around everywhere, so I thought about time I got a couple more pairs of pliers. So I actually find them. I found these ones on eBay. Made in Japan, Marvel. I'll have to look up what they cost again. They were about the normal sort of price for these sort of things. One's just your normal set of pliers. I haven't even opened these and had a look yet. But these are your standard Electricians pliers. You've got a little crimping bit there, which is handy. Cutters. And the rest, they're good for fencing. They're good for all sorts of things because they're a nice long set of pliers. A bit bigger than the standard ones you buy from the hardware store. And that's the main reason I use them for absolutely everything. Though, don't go cutting fence wire with your cutters on these. Use some bolt cutters or some fencing pliers, because you will ruin the blades on these cutting that sort of thing. But they're just a good all-round thing, good for undoing nuts and stuff with the end of them. General plier things, twisting wires together. And you can actually use them for electrical work if you want to as well. And I came across these at the same time. I thought I'll get a pair of these and see what they're like as well. These are actually a cutting plier. These are MVA 200, they're MA 880s. And they've got a big cutting blade. I have actually had these out instead of just the normal smaller cutting blade and this sort of grippy bit, which is handy if you want to twist things with that rounded off bit. You've still got basically the same teeth on the end. Must admit I haven't tried any of these on twisting wires together. I assume they'd work. These actually make a bit of a stripper as well, but they're absolutely brilliant if you've got like your, I think they call this TPS cable. This is your normal sort of power cable. That's an older one. For some reason it's missing an earth wire. But thermoplastic sheathed, I think they refer to it as. It's your standard sort of power cable. This thing just snips straight through it. Better than side cutters and things like this. Video cable. That's a more modern, either power or light. I think that's lighting. Just straight through it. There's a bit of 3-core flexi cable. What about some 4mm squared? That's probably even bigger, 6mm squared or something. Just straight through it. That's a bit of pay TV type cable, a bit harder to get through. I'm not sure if you should really risk your blades, because this is steel cord. This RG59 quad shield type stuff, cable TV or CM or something. But yeah, this stuff, that's the Belden brand. That might be a little bit harsh on these pliers. I don't think it's affected. I have used electrician pliers on it before. But that's all steel cord, not even good for scrap metal, that stuff. Well, they can put it in with the steel, I guess. But yeah, they're actually brilliant for doing that. We should be able to still do the old... Oh, that's why it's missing the earth wire, because someone's taken it out of there. I must have pinched a bit of wire for something. I think that's when I hooked up the electric fence. And you can actually strip with these big... I have already used these on a couple of things just to try them out. Quite good at stripping cable. Good when you've got to drag it down a longer length like that, having a big pair of pliers to do it. Though obviously this wasn't really made for stripping. And the problem with this old plastic, you've got to really pull on it. But it does quite a good job of that. I guess the other thing we want to do is see if we can join some cables together here. Because that's the main use of pliers in actual electrician type work. You're either cutting, splitting open that insulation, or twisting wires together. Oh, that doesn't want to come off. Let's try a bit of this stuff. This has been out in the weather. This is some real old cable. You see it's all gone green. Sitting on my scrap metal pile. But this is the main use pliers for, probably, is wrapping wires together and then cutting them off so that you can fit that in your PowerPoint or switch or whatever. We'll try these other ones out as well. These are a bit harder to actually open, maybe just because I haven't used them, but they aren't the loosest pliers. You don't want them too loose, but don't want them too tight either. And strip the other end of that thing. They work pretty much as the standard ones like I've had for years. And this is the main other use for it, is just, yeah, twisting things together. and then you might want to cut that off. Nice cutters on this one as well. Guess we should try it on some of this other stuff, even though there's only 2 wires and that. It's much harder to do with that. Whereas this thing, there's virtually no resistance, you just straight through it. Absolutely brilliant. So let's get a bit of that. Yeah, a bit more resistance, not that much on that bit, but some things, yeah, even that was reasonably, because it does a lot of squishing before it actually starts cutting, whereas this thing starts cutting in straight away. It certainly feels more effortless. This should be good for breaking this sort of stuff open. And yeah, it's got the squeezy bit, you can sort of grip stuff and twist it. That's more a sort of mechanical use of it. I don't think in electrical work or anything you really need that. Maybe something to do with conduit or something, you might want to twist something. But these are just pretty much your standard pair of pliers. They've actually got the crimping bit on them too, which is handy. Always good to have that. And there, yeah, I think these almost need a little bit of oil on them, but with a bit of work they'll probably loosen up a bit. So it's made a nice mess of the bench. For copper cable only, cut flat cable, 3 wires, easily one-handed. And that's the beauty, because if you're an electrician, you're fitting a lot of this TPS type stuff in, lighting, power, and that just slices it off beautifully. Often you leave it hanging out of the wall for later fitment while the plastering goes on or whatever, so they've got to cut it shorter, strip it, twist it together, well, sometimes twist it together or bend it over, and then stick it into the power point or whatever, light switch. Back severs the blades of cutter and machine polish. Scissor-like action, the blades cuts the cable clearly without distortion. Yeah, it does a very nice job. Terminal crimping die, diamond pattern, nose grips can grip thin materials firmly. And you know, they're good for bending metal, all that sort of thing. Use them for a million different jobs. Cutting capacity. Flat cable, 4mm square by 3 wires, so I can do like, yeah, I guess that's about the size of oven cable, which is about the biggest domestic cable you normally see besides in the switchboard. Copper cable, 25mm squared or 9.2mm diameter, so I guess that's a single 25mm squared. That's a pretty big wire. That's an industrial size sort of one. I don't know if they'd use that in a house anywhere, maybe from the power lines into the meter box or something. Crimping 2.5 to 6mm. Caution, never cut live cables. I definitely wouldn't recommend that. And do not cut iron, I guess I mean steel. Yeah, certainly end the cutting blade's life pretty quickly if you put it on the live cables. It'll probably blow the cutting face off it. At least you'll be insulated, but never much fun doing that sort of thing. And what does it say about these ones? Precise tip clearance. And that's one of the key with these things, with the cheaper ones, is you should almost be able to pick up a... If I've got a piece of paper somewhere. Let's see how good they are. Oh yeah, it picks up a piece of paper, so that's the sort of, you don't want a gap there, and it'll tear it. That's usually a good sign. That one's not so, it holds it, but it's actually just enough gap to pull it out. Those ones are actually gonna, yeah, well that's the stopper of these ones, is of course the blade comes down and they stop, so that's why they're that little bit tighter. They normally have a slight gap there. This is the cutting blade and this is the bit, so you can't have them touch or your cutting blade won't touch. So that explains that, but they're a nice precision sort of thing. Chain grip, crimping dies, hex cutout, heavy duty vinyl comfort grips. So I don't know if that's a chain grip, that curved piece, precise tip clearance, cutting blades individually adjusted and checked. And that's the other thing, when a good pair of pliers, those blades are perfectly aligned. These certainly look like a nice piece of engineering. Certainly better than the crappy pliers you buy at the hardware store normally, these type of pliers, but they're normally pretty bad. I'm sure they probably make some decent ones these days, but they always used to be pretty rubbish. Chain grip, radius for gripping, pulling, bending, turning, round shapes. Yeah, so that's that curved bit, and you do use it occasionally for mechanical type stuff. I doubt you ever use it, like I say, in electrical stuff, but maybe if you're pulling some installation apart, where you're removing equipment. extra long cutter blades, hex cutout behind cutters. Oh yeah, of course, you've got this bit here is actually designed to hold onto hexagonal things like so. Not the neatest fit in there, but it does the job. So we can, I basically forget that they've got that. It's not the most convenient way to do it, usually use something else, but these will grip onto nuts and the like if you've just got like a slightly rusted old thing like that. Better than having no tool at all. Crimping die, and they're good for those little plastic things that go over to join a couple of cables together. They're perfectly, crimp those perfectly. Probably not so good with automotive connectors, but larger ones that go on these sort of larger power cables, they probably do alright. Hot drop forged from high quality case hardening steel. The working faces and joint are precisely machined, heat treatment by gas carburizing. Choose a uniform hardness about 60 Rockwell C across the surface of the tool. All working faces, cutter blades, nose grip, nut turning hex cutout are heat treated the same high hardness. Cutting blades carefully adjusted until treated with a rust inhibiting black finish. Fine polish on the face completes this pair of Marvel pliers. Yeah, don't tell you much else on there, but yeah, I must say they seem to be really good quality, these things. Let's see if we can, I think I actually use the other ones to strip a bit of this exact coax, which is like an audio and video pair, and this is pretty poor quality plastic. Yeah, it does a pretty good job. It's probably the quickest way you could strip this stuff. I don't know how it's going to go with the centre conductors. These are particularly poor plastic usually. Yep, straight through it. Once you get the hang of it, you could probably do it, but that's a very fine wire. You really need small side cutters. Don't think we're going to have much success there. I guess the other thing is these coax type cables. They've got this horrible foam in the centre. It actually did it. And it's actually even with a soft stranded core. Yes, we can see what can we do with a piece of this RG4 stuff. There are proper stripping tools for this, which you normally use because you're just going into an F connector. But can we get it to deal with this? It even took most of the braided wire off. And these are a particularly hard and horrible centre conductor on these. But they're steel conductors, so you should be able to cut this foam fairly safely without cutting through the centre one. But the problem is if you score it, it'll tend to snap off as soon as someone tries and bends it or anything. Yeah, it's actually pulling out of the sheath. It's so tight, that stuff. It is some of the most horrible. It's usually sort of melted on there, I think. Oh, we got it off here. You can see it's stuck to it. Depends on the cable. Some of these strip quite well, some are a real pain. But it goes to show you can actually strip stuff with this, probably better than most side cutters strip things. So that's sort of an added bonus. It does a pretty good job of that. I don't think I've marked the inner cores. Maybe one of them, because you don't want to cut into these inner cores, because as soon as you bend them they'll snap off and you reduce the cable capacity. But yeah, I'm quite happy with those. I think these definitely look better precision sort of engineered than the usual sets you buy. I haven't bought a pair of these since, God, the early 90s or something. I think I actually destroyed the first set I had by cutting fencing wire with it. And then I bought some replacements and they're still all going. Once you learn not to cut steel wire with them, they're pretty indestructible. But they're always hard to find for some reason. I never seem to be able to find any of them. Sometimes one set's in the car, sometimes the other one's been using for pulling out spark plug leads in the Subaru Ute I got here to find out which plug is oiled up. And then they've been left somewhere. And then there's like one set left which has probably been doing some building work or something. Always seem to be disappearing. So I thought if I buy enough pairs I should be able to find some. And yeah, I didn't really know these existed. I have seen them before, I think a long time ago, but didn't take much notice. I thought I'd get a pair, and I must say these are the best things for cutting cable ever. Even if you're doing some demolition work or something, these would be brilliant for just cutting old house wiring out of the way so you can do some work. Definitely easier than the large type side cutters, which is good to know because yeah, you want to do the minimum labour possible. But yeah, they're pretty good pliers those, so thanks for watching.